Good afternoon, Knicks fans everywhere, and welcome to another edition of Knicks Dreams, hosted by Santana. Have your co-hosts, Mr. Bill, aka Bill Stradamus, and Hakeem, aka The Dream. Um, this season is shaping up to be very interesting, and giving us hope that we finally have a team that is going to give most teams out there, something to think about when they come to New York now. It is no longer that they are going to come in here and, make a name for themselves by playing in the most famous arena and walking out of here, laughing at us. We are not the laughing stock of the NBA anymore, ladies and gentlemen. So here to recap the last game and to talk about, what to expect for the next game, we have Santana, followed by Hakeem, the Dream, and Mr. Bill Stradamus. Take it away, Santana.
Welcome, Knicks fans. Welcome, Knicks fans. We're very excited to launch this show. Of course, we're going to talk about the last game. Of course, Utah and the Knicks and how that transpired, how we saw it. And we welcome you all to participate in the chat room. By all means, type in any thoughts, any questions, any ideas, any suggestions that you want to make so that we can, get started and have a very fruitful conversation. I just wanted to go with the Dream. I wanted to get your take on what you saw in the game, Utah and Knicks game, and then we'll go from there.
I think he called the score pretty close, by the way. So that was it.
Yeah, welcome, gentlemen. I appreciate it. As far as the game itself, this was a good game for us to gauge what we had in a situation of as far as being down by a lot of points early on. Randall getting a couple early fouls kind of threw us off, I would say, a little bit. It took us basically the rest of the first half just to reboot and slowly crawl back into the game in general. So that by the time the third quarter kicked off, we were able to reset and then play, New York basketball the way we're getting used to. The thing that worries me a little bit is that we're running a little bit short on bodies. So that's just due to injuries. Our guys aren't back yet. So that's just going to be, hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us in one of these games. We're just going to play hard, do what we can do. We never stopped playing hard the entire time, and that's what kept us in the game. And obviously, we were all there for it. Rivers goes crazy in the second half and end of the second half, and he just basically takes the game away from us. And Thibodeau, again, riding the hot hand, allowed him to just run free and do what he did. And thank God he caught fire, and that was it. We played our traditional fourth quarter defense, and he got hot, and that's how we were able to pull this one out.
All right. Mr. Bill Stradamus, give us your take on what you saw during that game.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You saw, Miguel Santana, that I was even texting you, and I was screaming like a high school cheerleader. That was one of the best games that I've seen in a long time from a team that I support in any sport. As stated, we do got to get some bodies back, and we can't have a full season of Randolph playing, 45, 44. I don't know how many minutes he played. Yeah. However, I saw recently, as early as today, that we're bringing back Taj Gibson, yes, and possibly Chandler.
Interesting.
Yeah, possibly Chandler. So those bodies, they will help, and hopefully we'll get some of the other guys back. Now I know Obi, he's not ready yet. But guys like Frank and well, I don't know what's up with DSJ, but guys like Frank, he should be, possibly playing tonight.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But that was an exciting game. We started off very slow and started off hot based on the fact that they got blown out the previous day. So, they came in, but there was a period in the game where I thought they were looking tired. And that's when we were coming back. And by the end of the third quarter, we were ready to just, put our foot on their throat. And that's exactly what we did. Mr. Henry.
Yes, sir. How you doing there? First of
Good.
all, I got the news yesterday, and it is now official. Taj Gibson has been signed.
All right.
Amari Spellman was waived. The other player that they're looking at is still not it's just a rumor. I can see how Taj can be useful. How we were talking about bringing in a veteran that could be useful in the locker room and on the bench and showing these guys how to play. Well, Taj Gibson is that kind of guy. I always had an inkling or an idea or a suspicion or, something told me that when they waived Taj Gibson, he was coming back. Just by the mere fact that Thibs brings him to every team that he's coached.
Mhm.
He had him in Chicago. He had him with the Timberwolves. And he's going to bring him back. And which else? Who else was it with?
I'm sorry. I got
you
the phone.
He was with another one of those teams, other than Chicago and the Timberwolves. Anyway, those are the two that I definitely remember. So, and bringing them back is not like bringing a new face to this system. He's been around before. He's a useful body, plays decent amount of defense, and he can always get you 6 to 8 points in the lane. That short jump shot that he has. It's the mid-range game that he has. He's not going to come in here to go out to the 3-point line. All of his points is going to come from in the lane, and that's useful, even though we seem to be outscoring our opponents in the lane by huge margins so far. So yes, Taj Gibson is a welcome addition. He's not Corbett, I think, is the guy that you mentioned, Santana, the last time we met. But it's an improvement, and like you said, we're getting short on bodies, and he can give you a couple of minutes because you cannot afford to have Randall playing the forward, the strong forward, and then turn around when Mitchell comes out, play the center also. That we're gonna kill him. We're gonna kill that poor boy. If we play him like that, having to work that hard, even though he's still young enough to be able to withstand that. That's overusing him. I'm looking at the stats from that game right now, and I see that once again we are holding opponents down to around 20 to 25 points, and we're outscoring our opponents in each of the third and the fourth quarter. We had 34 in the third, 34 in the fourth. Okay, and that's when the game is won. And like I said in the previous shows, I'm saying again, as long as we're in the game in the last half of the fourth quarter, it's anybody's game. And that's where defense wins. Defense wins championships, right? And so I don't want to start using words like championships here, but defense wins games, especially in the last quarter. You know what I'm saying? Well, in previous years, the Knicks used to just let go of these games. In this season, they're holding on, and then you got to beat us in the fourth quarter. We're not just gonna hand it over to you and start fumbling and bumbling and turning it over and chucking up 3-pointers from the locker room or So it's already looking like it's going to be a whole new Nick team and a whole new strategy. Take it away, Santana.
So, let me go back to the first half of, the game against the Jazz. Now, during that first half, one of the stat lines that really popped off the box score for me was, what's his name? RJ. Okay. RJ had a stat line of 1 point, either 2 rebounds and 1 assist, or vice versa, which was very disturbing to me personally because, he was shooting, he was going and settling for the three and so forth and so on. So that was a precursor of what was to come in the second half. But what carried us, obviously, was Julius and Peyton. The two, the two veterans, for lack of a better term. I know that Julius is only 26 years old, but in this team, he's a veteran. He's not a rookie. He's been around the league for quite a few years now, and so he's definitely a veteran. So they were the ones that kind of carried us through that first half, even though Utah was having a field day with them in that first half. They were just running and gunning. And again, if you guys remember in the last conversation that I had, it's about pace. It's about controlling the pace and slowing down the game and not letting folks get too comfortable running and gunning, because that's not who we are as a team. We may have a few players that can run, but that's not our identity. Our identity is playing defense, is managing the game and the pace of the game to our advantage based on the players that we put on the floor at any given time. So I was a little concerned with RJ Barrett and his performance in that game. But then again, I'm not surprised because he's been consistently inconsistent. Okay. Now, yes, when he's on, he's on. But when he's off, he's off. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a work in progress. Definitely has the talent to be, that second player on this team. Okay, a third player on another team, but a second player on this team. But it's all about consistency with him. So much so that in the second half, and I think in the fourth quarter, when Rivers had that monster fourth quarter, RJ Barrett was nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
you understand?
Which was okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay, but it just goes to show you Captain Hook ain't playing favorites.
Nope.
Okay, Captain Hook is going with the hot hand, and they gotta be producing on the floor. Yeah. Okay, the same thing. Another observation that I found interesting, and I really don't know the status of this player, but quickly played 6 minutes. Okay, and I don't know if he never got back into the game because he's re-injured his hip or because he wasn't as effective as he has been. And that's a question that's still hanging in the balance. For me, I haven't watched any post-game shows to get a take on what was said along those lines. And I don't know going into this game, if anything, whatever his status may be in terms of his injury. Or if it's not his injury, maybe he just didn't play and Thibodeau just went with the hot hand. So those were the things that really stood out for me in this game, obviously, and then the fact that they ended up controlling the game, especially in the fourth quarter when Austin Rivers was just in the zone, laying the wood down, and then obviously closing the D. So I'm going to stop there because I want to hear your guys' take a little bit more details about what you thought about matchups, strategy, or anything else. So, Dream, take it away.
So going into the pregame show last time, we talked about, like you said, matchups, difficult matchups we might be facing. Conley, Ingles, Mitchell against our guards. We definitely saw that be a factor in this game. Quigley struggled, and I think it's his effectiveness that kept him out in the second half, and why he didn't play as much, because Conley was being very crafty with him. And not so much Peyton, because Peyton laid back a little bit on him. But since Quigley wants to be aggressive in his style, Conley used that to his advantage. Ingles used that to his advantage with Barrett, and so did Mitchell a little bit. Not so much foul trouble, but awkward fouls that kind of affected his overall effectiveness in the game offensively on that side. The things that definitely other keys for me early in the first half, or late in the first half, I should say, points off turnovers. The Jazz controlled that. Coming into the third quarter, points off turnovers, the Knicks flipped the game on them, and they controlled that. So it wasn't that we were playing the defense, along with the good defense, we're scoring off of that defense matters also, so then we don't have dead possessions. The last thing I want to bring up is, again, the bench. Same 3 players, just a different configuration of the points, but same 30 points and 6 for 9 and threes coming off the bench. So whoever gives it to us, whoever's the hot hand, those same 3 players, Quigley, Knox, and Rivers, gave us the same output that we had from the game before. And I think that was definitely important, as we all know, down the stretch when nobody could basically step in front of Rivers and stop anything he was putting up. And that was it. And those were the keys for me as far as, the little details, the nuances inside the game that I saw and kind of triggered a positive feedback and then led us to the win in the end.
Mr. Thomas?
Well, what I noticed, and you had mentioned this last show, Santana, that Mitch, although he had that ridiculously, that was a dumb goaltend at the end of the first quarter. But I noticed that as the game progressed, he was boxing out more than just trying to just jump over everyone for the rebounds and everything. He was boxing out Gobert. And he had a good game. Mitch had a very, very good game. He had a strong game. I don't know what he ended with, but let's see. He had
13 rebounds and 9 points.
Yeah.
Right. 9 that he had.
It's a double-double, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, that was a double-double. Yeah. And I also noticed Knox played defense. Knox was out there playing some defense.
Yeah.
He had a key block against Conley and saved it all in one play.
One play.
And then I noticed Randall went into bully ball mode, and he was throwing his shoulders into Gobert, whoever was guarding him. None of them could guard him.
Yeah.
None of them can guard him. And I like that Tibbs had us still, running the offense through him, and he was making his passes. He almost had a triple-double again. And, I was just like I said, once Rivers came into the game, and I mean in that fourth quarter when he scored 14 straight points. I was in here. The only thing I didn't have on was a skirt and pom poms. Okay, the only thing I was missing in here, but I was going crazy.
In other words, you had some lipstick on.
Hey, I'm missing that too.
and earrings.
Hilarious.
But man, that was some excitement there.
Yeah.
He was out there, he looked like Curry did a couple of days ago. He was just, and the thing is, he was shooting over Gobert, whoever they put on.
Yeah. He just got fire. He just got that rhythm.
And what I mentioned also last show prior to the game is what they did with regard to Donovan Mitchell. They put different bodies on him.
Yeah.
They had different bodies on Donovan Mitchell, and Peyton played him a lot. Peyton was on him, and Peyton did very well against him. Peyton had a great game himself.
Peyton had a great game.
Peyton was doing his thing.
Yeah,
he carried it. He carried the point guard position. Because I was concerned that he was going to get worn out, and I was hoping that Quickly would be able to get in and spell him. But
played massive.
Go ahead, Bill. Continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. I'm almost done. Basically, Jazz was up by 7 at the end of the first, and then second quarter. Then your man Santana that you mentioned, Ingles, he came in there and he dropped a few bombs on us, and I was like, okay. Between him and what's the other one that used to play for the Lakers?
Clarkson.
Oh my God, Clarkson. Yeah. Those two.
I need to watch him off the bench, man.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's like a 6th starter over there.
Yes.
But we put it together. We were down at the half we were down 12, and at the half, Randall had 12 and 9. Rivers had 9 points. Peyton had 10. And Knox had his 7 points, and he played in only 11 minutes. But our boy Barrett, he was pretty pathetic. 1 point.
Missing in action.
Yeah, 1
MIA.
point. He played 19 minutes too in that first half.
Yeah.
And he can only come up with 1 point. But he didn't look like he was into it for some
Not in the
reason.
flow of the game.
Yeah, he wasn't into the flow. Mitch had already had 3 points and 7 boards, and Quick had 2 assists. That's all. I don't even think he scored. He didn't score.
Yeah, no.
So.
But he had a good steal. He kept his body moving and active, hands up. He had a steal in the lob, I believe, at one point. I think to Knox maybe even. So that helps. These young guys, if you're not going to be effective in the scoring aspect, just be a body that's moving around with your hands up, because we need all of that this year.
Right.
We need to stay on that tip. Keep going until you can't. Like, just don't have any lax possessions and stuff like that.
Henry.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to bring it back to Quigley, and maybe if we want to call it his lack of production, even though I have to agree with the dream that production isn't always in the box score. So long as you're out there, you're an active body, you're getting in the passing lanes, you're disrupting things, you keeping your man in front of you. That's all positive things that end up helping us win games. However, and unfortunately, he still has a college body.
Yeah.
And he cannot get in front of Mitchell or Donovan Mitchell. He cannot get in front of Conley and Clarkston. Those guys have been here for a while. So, the fact that he was active and all of that is a good thing. But the fact that he was ineffective is only due to the fact that those guys are craftier and more experienced and seasoned veterans that would probably take advantage of another seasoned veteran. Never mind just a rookie that's coming into the league. He did his best. However, I agree with that, but I have to respectfully disagree with the comment that RJ is going to be the second option. As I see it transforming on through the season, when Alec Burks comes back, okay, who starts, right, in place of Bullock, he will probably turn out being the second option. And if they're going to keep bringing Rivers off the bench, he's probably going to end up being the third option. I see those guys as our top scorers. Whether they become second option, third option is not so important. But Alec Burks, for the 3 games that he played, he was averaging 20 points a game. And Rivers, he's averaging near 20 points a game. So I see those 2 guys as the one. I think Peyton is also, he got a chip on his shoulder. He got that one bad game, and he got pulled out, and he didn't finish those 2 games. Might have been Indiana and the Hawks or something. And he's like, hell no. We're not going to have this Quivers thing going on here, man. It's going to be Peyton and Rivers, not Quickly and Rivers. But either way, I know that he's humble enough to accept whatever role is given to him, and that as long as the team is winning, he's going to be willing to accept if he's in there in the fourth quarters, meaningful minutes, or if it happens to be that Quickly is energizing the team at that point, because they all respect the coach's decision. And the coach is going with the hot hand. I think one of you guys mentioned it. The hot hand. Whoever is on that night is going to finish the game for me. It doesn't matter who starts. It's who's going to finish that game. And so they all buying into that. Talking about stats, I want to, maybe mention a couple of them. It was 1, 2, 3, 4 players in double figures, and it could have been RJ Barrett or even Mitchell Robinson also, because they each had 9. But we're getting contributions, double-digit contribution from 4 or 5 players a night. Mm-hmm. That's hard to beat. That's hard to beat because, you don't have to concentrate. You can't double-team one guy anymore. You can't go down there and like we did last year, like most teams did last year, and double down on Randall, and then he's pivoting into three guys and all that. No. He's not doing that no more. I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff that are bringing that out to him. I guess somebody else mentioned something that happened in the last quarter, and it has to do with a lot of coaching. Like when Mitchell Robinson is still in the game in the fourth quarter, he's being coached, because I know that he would have been out with 4 or 5 fouls in the third quarter, but this time last year, and that's not happening anymore. So yes, kudos to Randall. Reggie Bullock gave us 12 points and 7 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson's 13 rebounds. Alfred Payton 8 assists and 22 points. That's equivalent what to 16 points plus 22. It's 38 points that he's responsible of the 112. Okay, 30 and 7 rebounds. That's another 14. That's 44 points that he's responsible for of those 112. Wow. And then Rivers with his 23. Wow. You can't ask for more than that, man, fellas. I don't know. I caution against talking playoffs and championships and all of that kind of stuff.
I'll talk about it.
I'm softening. They're softening me up, man. Every time they're giving me some body blows, man. Every time they win one of these games,
I'm gonna keep working.
They would have definitely lost. They would have definitely lost this game last year, being down 18 in the first half. But they came back in the third quarter. They held them down to 19 in the third and 25 in the fourth.
So here's the thing. You brought up Alfred, okay? And I read an article recently. I think it was in the Post that they were asking him about his return to New York. Now, if you guys remember, he got waived because he was making about $8 million. So he was waived. Okay. And then when the Knicks weren't able to get, that bona fide point guard that they were looking for in the free agent market, they circled back to Payton and they were able to sign him for $4 million. In that same article, they asked him, how does he feel about that? Okay. And of course, he didn't want to touch that. And he said that he doesn't want to comment on that. And of course, they were talking about the chip on the shoulder that you're talking about, Henry, that he's currently playing with. That's one motivating factor, because he's obviously getting paid less than what he personally expected to get paid. And then number two, of course, he hears the whispers of, we got this rookie sensation that's going to be the next coming of whatever, and his job is on the line. So those are two motivating factors that I think are driving him to produce at the level that he's producing. And the thing about it is he's doing it within the construct of his game. He's not trying to be something he is not, or someone that he is not. His strength is going to the basket. When he goes to the basket, he's very effective. And he reminds me, and this is going to take you guys back a little bit, because I got to make my comparisons and my parallels. But he reminds me going to the basket and being able to finish, because what he does is he uses his body to get those little angles and get his shots off of Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland wasn't a great shooter from the perimeter, but you couldn't stop him going to the basket, and he could finish going to the basket. Now, Rod could finish with both hands. I don't know about Payton. I know he could finish with his right hand, but he has that craftiness to go into the lane and finish off with the little teardrop or the little banker and stuff like that. That's something that right now RJ Barrett hasn't really figured out, those nuances on how to use the backboard to his advantage, because he likes to go play bully ball, which is good. That'll get you closer to the basket, but now you got to know how to kiss it off the glass. The kiss off the glass. You guys know who I'm talking about, okay? That's what he has to learn, how to finish off, after making a strong move to the basket and using the backboard. Because he tries to do that teardrop at these different angles, and he's always missing. Okay, and we can't have that. We can't have that. Now, Does he have the potential to be a second option down the road? I do think he has that potential. But right now, as you said, Henry, in terms of Burks coming off the bench and Austin coming off the bench, these are veterans that they know how to get their shot off. They're further along in their fundamentals. So right now, yeah, they definitely have the advantage because they could come in and drop 20 like Austin did. But I think in the long term, provided that Barrett replicates those 2 games that he's had where he's played his best basketball, and the most recent one prior to the stinker that he just had recently, that was the essence of his game. And once he learns how to own that up and tighten up his fundamentals in terms of squaring up and getting his shot off, using the glass whenever he's in the low in the paint, then he'll be that second option. But until then, yes, you're absolutely right, Henry. We got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. Dream, let me get your take on, because you touched up on it a little bit in terms of the individual matchups. And the one that I really want to zone in a little bit more on is the one between Mitchell Robinson and, of course, Gobert. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, they year after year they're getting more comfortable with each other. They know where to be on the floor to feed each other. So defending that's what the question. How do we defend that, or how do we do against that? I mean, I think we did well. Personally, I said from the beginning, I just wish we had more bodies.
Right.
Skill for skill. Robinson is rounding out his game to give us more offensive skill. To bring to the game itself, and Gobert he has the offensive skill. That's part of his game, and he has body. So it was going to be more of a matchup of just their fresh legs versus our fresh legs, basically. Not so much. The skill. We can balance that off because we have Randall, and that's like you said. I think in the pregame last time, that's our mismatch for most teams that we come to the table with. So they have to worry about that. Right. And then we worry about some of the things that they do well. But overall, I think the game itself is changing so that Gobert has kind of been minimized a little bit by the 3-point shot and the amount of 3-point shooting we're seeing from some of these teams that we're facing. So Utah has gotten into that where they're, they predicated on guard orientation, being around the perimeter, coming off the bench, running and gunning, and then they have the ultimate sweep up guy. Like we want Robinson to be for us, the ultimate sweep up guy. Like if you're not going to be stepping out to the line and you're going to be around the basket, get those rebounds, get the easy putbacks, and that's it. And just last as long as you can. Like you guys said earlier, he's been playing a lot more efficient with his fouls. Big time foul trouble last year. All the time. First half, first quarter, even 2 fouls. Never get into any type of rhythm that way. So, the coaching, I think we mentioned it earlier, big time. I mean, we talk about it every time we get on one of these shows. Last year, basically, we ended the season with the same players that we're starting with this year. It's not really that different. Mitchell Robinson, Randall, Barrett, Elfrid Payton. Last year, these guys looked lost on the court. Lost and uninterested in being better. This year, they came in with a plan, a direction, and a mission to be better than what they showed last year. And I appreciate that as a fan, and I can only support that going forward.
Mr. Jamis.
Yeah. Mitch, in the first half, he got beat a few times by Gobert. But like I said, I noticed he started playing a little differently. He was using more of a box out system. And when we ran, then he can jump over. If we're running and someone takes a shot and they miss, then he's in the run and in the flow of the game, he's jumping over everybody, getting the rebounds or the putback or whatever. But when the game was slowed down, he very much defended that pick and roll much better in the second half. Much better. First half, Gobert had 10 and 6 in the first half, and Mitchell had 3 and 7. But in that second, I don't even know what Gobert ended with, but
14.
I don't know. They got tired also.
They got tired.
Then we had like Bogdanovich. He didn't do much of anything.
Mhm.
Bogdanovich, he had 6 at the half. I don't know. What did he end with, Henry? I don't even
Six.
know.
6.
He ended with that 6,
It
right?
was 6.
See, that was good.
Gobert with 14.
Yeah.
Ingles.
Donovan
What did Ingles
Mitchell.
end with?
Donovan Mitchell with 18.
Yeah.
Right.
Conley
And-
with 9. Ingles with 16. Clarkson with 19. And that's it. Royce
Yeah.
O'Neal with 8. We
Well,
held
yeah.
them down.
Mhm.
I mean, like
And
you
those
said, they
guys
were
got
tired.
tired. They got tired guarding Randall too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Okay.
could do nothing with Randall.
And they got dejected about those threes Rivers kept dropping in one after
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
Mm.
That just
Yeah.
mentally checked them out of the game at that point.
Yeah.
Could you guys imagine if the 20 plus was in the Garden during
Come
that
on,
run?
man. No.
Oh,
I imagine myself being at the Garden at that point.
The
I wrote it
20,000. Oh my goodness.
I wrote it at the bottom. Right? That would have, what did I write there? I said that would have had the Garden screaming, Austin Rivers.
Oh boy.
Yes.
I still hear defense when I'm watching games at home. It's, I'm mentally fanatic.
But they're piping it in too. They're piping it in.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pipe it in.
But I don't need the crowd noise. I don't need the TV.
Me either. I'm in here doing it myself.
Crowd noise in here.
Henry?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it, man. It was a great win. It was one of those wins that you could have put in the loss column. I remember we had several conversations prior to even, the beginning of this preseason. And I said that at the end of 10 games, we might be 2-8. I am so glad to be wrong about that. Okay. But I did not expect 5-3. I did not expect 5-3. After 8 games, 4-5, I would have been happy with. I am elated, man. It's beyond words how happy I am for myself, for New York fans all over the country. Because remember, it feels like we have the most fans around the country because I think New Yorkers move around more than anybody else. So wherever you go, you're going to find somebody wearing some Knicks clothes. But anyway, besides that, we got to be very happy with what's happening this year. We finally have coaching and we have players who are willing to buy into. And you know what? When people buy into something is after they start winning games, and I guess, because like you said, we have the same guys that we had last year. So it's not like we have a whole new crew of individuals. It's just that their attitude coming into the season, and I guess whatever the coach is telling them, So maybe the coach is a different person that's telling them, listen, man, I'm not here to play favorites. I don't care how much you're making. I don't care what your stats are like. If you're not playing in the last quarter of the game, I'm going with whoever wants to play, and you got to produce, or you can sit here with Mr. Bill and some pom-poms, and you can be a cheerleader. You could be a cheerleader too. And that's what I think. Anybody else who's not playing, and I love it, because that's what you see. That's what you see on the bench. Quigley wasn't playing. He was the biggest cheerleader out there.
Yeah,
okay.
all of them.
Knox isn't playing. He's the biggest cheerleader out there. Pinson hasn't played a game, and he's the biggest cheerleader out there. And that's what you got to be. You got to support the guys that are on there, because when they win, you win. And so, yes, it is. Yes, it's a whole new regime. It's a whole new attitude. And it's going to translate into many, many nights like this. Okay. And so I am more than ready for the games that, the Toronto games. We're going to have some Toronto games. Okay. I just want it to be 3 wins and 1 loss. 2 wins and 1 loss. instead of 1 win and 2 losses. And 1
Okay,
win.
we'll get there. Hold it all.
Okay.
Don't throw it all in at once, brother.
Don't give it all up. No, but you know, we're running out of time here, so you know where we're going next.
I need to transition. So
go ahead.
Okay, so just to close out the Mitch thing, and then we're gonna transition into tonight's game. Okay, in terms of the Mitch thing, I think the bottom line in terms of his improvement is the discipline that he's playing with now, as opposed to just jumping, on every single, shot or fake or whatever the case may be. He's keeping his feet on the ground and only jumping on certain occasions. So I think that's a coaching improvement that was made and is carried over into him. But that being said, we're leaving Mitch alone now. We're going to shift over now to the Knicks against the Thunder tonight. And so go ahead, Akeem. I want to get your take on it, what you think. And then that way, we'll go around the horn and then we'll chime in.
Okay. I mean, well, tonight's game, obviously, it starts with SGA, getting him under control, not letting him get loose. He's going to have his points. He's the guy that drives their offense, runs their offense. Everything runs through him.
He's that guy.
You can't forget about the rest of their guys also. This is very similar matchup that we just came out of with Utah. Right. They got 4 to 5 guys and also a guy coming off the bench, double figures. They're more the mid-range. But if we just keep them on the wraps, they may score. This is a team in the last 4 games has put up 40-plus 3-point attempts. So we need to watch that. So it's important that we run them off the line and deal with the 2-point percentage, whatever they come at on the inside. That's worked for us as long as we play defense, continue to rebound. We've been rebounding 45 plus. Again, I think last night was maybe 48 or something like that. Or the night before, I should say. So if we keep that, and my key to the game, 30 or under every single quarter. And that's always been my key for the last couple of years. And now I'm starting to see that this year. So it's very, I enjoy that part of the game. Outside of that, lock down the defense in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. We should be okay. The addition of Gibson added brings a person who understands where to be in the defense. He's a body. He's going to body with people, use his fouls, but he's not going to be lost on the defensive end. And that's really all we need as far as adding somebody down low. And that's pretty much it. These guys, they battle. They were a playoff team, another playoff team from last year from the West. We showed well against these type of teams this year for whatever reason. So I'm starting to think that it's more trend and not just happenstance that we play good defense. We're coming in to play good defense, and we're bringing down their percentages. So again, run these guys off the line. Watch that 3-pointer. Don't let them get loose. We enjoy ourselves tonight.
Mr. Jamis?
I think we have to cut down on the unnecessary turnovers. We tend to commit a lot of turnovers in the first half of these games. Although we didn't in the Utah game. I think we had, I don't remember, we had a low amount of turnovers. We also have to be don't they have Al Horford over there?
Yes, they do.
Al Horford is a crafty and a great veteran. Mm-hmm. I wish we had him over here. Mm-hmm. Al Horford is a very good player. He's a smart player. And like it was just mentioned by Dream, that team is very similar to the Jazz. Very, very similar team to them. They have a few players that are scoring in double figures. But I don't know. I haven't seen them really, so I don't know about their defense. Mm-hmm. And that's where we got Utah. Utah is not a great defensive team. I think they win by just running you off the court. And as we saw last season in the bubble, they're willing to have those the showdowns where Mitchell and what's my man from Denver, Murray. Those guys, they took us back to like Bird versus Dominique Wilkins. They were just going back and forth and scoring 50 and 40 points, and they're content with going that route. We're not built like that. So we're gonna play some defense on OKC, and we're gonna see how they're gonna react to that. Especially coming into the House of Horrors, the Garden. Mm-hmm. That's the House of Horrors team. And when they start piping in that defense, and then they hear me and Henry and Dream and Santana yelling from our homes, when they hear that, They're going to step it up, put the clamps on these guys, and we're going to have to see how they're going to be able to react to that. But we have to be steady, know when to run, know when to play the half court, and know who has the hot hand and when to feed that hot hand, and know when it's time to let someone else now run the show, or let someone else be that hot hand. Randall he's still playing at an all-star level. I expect him to keep that up, and I expecting Tibbs kids to run away with this one. I don't want to get beside myself, but I think that I think we're going to win tonight.
Henry?
Yes, sir. Well, again, I understand you guys may think that they look like the Jazz, but they're nowhere near the Jazz. They don't have a Rudy Gobert. They don't have a Mitchell Robinson. I mean, a Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell, yeah.
They don't have an Ingles. They don't have a Bogdanovich. They don't have a Clarkson. I mean, okay, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Al Horford. George Hill is over the hill for me. He's just been, like a journeyman right now. And after that, I'm looking at names. Trevor Ariza, I didn't look at the injury report. I don't know who's going to be in or who's going to be out. But Justin Jackson, who was a little bit of a disappointment. He came out a couple of years ago and he was doing pretty good. And now all of a sudden it's like, again, we don't see him enough to make a determination of how well they're playing now. Okay, but they just lost they won by 1 to the Pelicans, and they lost by whatever it was to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
They don't scare me. I don't see anybody there and I say, oh shit, here comes Donovan Mitchell. Okay,
talk, Henry, talk. Go ahead.
We held them down to 18, so come on, yo, what we play you Rucker Park? Come on, anywhere, just call it, man. I see this as a win for the Knicks, and I am talking like a fan now, not like an objective observer. But just looking at it, sometimes you can get it. This could be what Santana would call a trap game.
Mm-hmm.
A trap game.
Don't steal my thunder, brother. Don't steal my thunder.
I'll leave you. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Finish your thought, but don't steal my thunder.
I'll tell you what. Let's turn it over to Santana. Go ahead. Tell us about that.
So this is the thing. This is one of those games because of the roster that OKC has. Okay, with the exception of Harford and SGA and stuff like that. We don't know who else. We don't know who else is going to step up. Mm-hmm. And this is a one of those games, like Henry said best, it's a trap game, because I had this conversation with Henry, yesterday, I think it was. It's a potential trap game. What I'm looking for in this game is I want to see the impact of Thibodeau not allowing it to be a trap game. Because as players, generally they'll be like, they ain't got anybody that could match up against us, and they kind of could take somebody lightly, and that's when they get bamboozled. They get hoodwinked. You know what I mean? Now, with Thibodeau in there, he's a veteran coach. He knows this is one of those potential trap games. Because this is one of those key games where teams will play down to the competition, and we don't want that, because if we want to build consistency and we want to continue the streak, we got to make sure that these players understand that the mark of a good team is being able to play as well as you play against better team. You play just as well against teams that are not supposed to beat you. And so, that being said, I still give the edge to the Knicks because of Thibodeau, more so than the players. Because I know that Thibodeau, I believe that Thibodeau understands, the value of making sure your players are prepared, especially for this game. If anything, I think maybe he probably drove them even harder during practice, because that team is more unpredictable than a team that's already known. A team that we know the Mitchells are gonna get theirs. We know what Gobert is gonna get. We know what Conley's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? The only two guys that we know of that we can anticipate their production level is SGA and Horford. But then everybody else on that team, we don't know. So that means we have to be that much more disciplined. And that's why I think it's more of a trap game. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because of my man Tibbs. Go ahead, Henry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that, they could also be looking forward to the Nuggets. Worry more about the Nuggets than they are about the game in front of them.
No.
And, I'm not. I'm just saying part of this whole thinking could be. But like you said, and I wrote it down, this is a coach's win. This is a win that Coach Tibbs is gonna have to coach, and he's going to have to enforce his will. He's got to put his print on this game. It's not going to be unless we are running away with it, like it's a blowout, right from the third quarter. Then, like if they fall into that trap of thinking ahead or thinking these guys are nobody, or looking at the stat sheet and saying we don't have to worry about so and so, because this is one of those games where one of those unknown quantities is could have a monster game, and it may not even be Hartford or the other guy, but it could be any one of the other unknown quantities that they have. So that's what I wanted to add. They could be looking ahead to the next game, and the coach is going to have to rein them in and say, hey, you got a game to win tonight, not Sunday night and not Monday night, because remember, Sunday and Monday, those are teams that have bona fide 3 or 4 guys, and this team only has 1.5, because as good as Hartford is, he's on the other side of his best days. His best days are behind him. So he doesn't represent that much of a threat. He's not going to kill you inside. He's always going to take that jumper from the outside as much as he can. So that's what I can say.
He'll play a little bully ball because he got bully ball in him. But,
okay.
I want to transition because we got about 5, 6, 7 minutes left. And, we want to get into prediction in terms of score. So, Hakeem, the dream, hit us with your knowledge, brother. What do you think?
So, real quick, I don't think the Knicks should be looking forward to anybody this year. Looking forward to any other game. They need to stay right in the bubble of each game that they're in and play that game. They're not good enough to be staring at a team that finished 6th in the West, talking about, oh, that's a team we can just not worry about. They don't have any stars, or they got 1.5 stars. Because guess what? Somebody in Oklahoma is doing a podcast and they're saying the Knicks have 1.5 stars. Going forward, I agree. Total trap game. Oklahoma City is 3-1 on the road. Let's keep that in mind.
Okay.
They're not scared of anybody they go play. They're not scared of anybody they go play. 2 guys to watch, real quick. Dort and Muscala coming off the bench. If we control those 2 guys, then the rest just play it out. I think it's going to be a lot tighter game just because Oklahoma City plays so well on the road for some reason. And I think, 105-102 Knicks.
Ooh, 105-102.
Super tight game. Super tight game. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Bill Stradamus.
All right. Now, I agree with a lot of what you guys said, and this is a coach's game. And I hope players like RJ and Quickly don't try to outplay their last game, because they seemingly had bad games. So I don't want either one of them to come in feeling that they have to make up for the last game. So therefore, I agree that that Tibbs is going to have to be the one that that calms the waters. and let them know, let's play our game. Let's keep that defensive mindset and that defensive attack, and we'll be good. With that being said, I'm going 15-99.
Whoa,
New York.
whoa.
I hope so, Bill Sadamas.
115.99. Damn, 16-point win. 16-point win.
I'll take it. Friday Night Knicks.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, Friday Night Knicks, and you only got to win it by 3.
Hey man, no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying if it is Friday Night Knicks time, then maybe they'll blow it up. That'd be nice.
Okay,
That's
so
my prediction. You know.
okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, but let me also still give the props for the last game, because Dream, you got it. The score was 112-100, and you had predicted 110-102. You was off 2 points by each team.
That's it. Collectively,
Salute.
we've been calling the games pretty tight so far. I'll say that.
Salute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to give myself too much props, but I said it was going to be a 10-point win, and it was a 12-point win. So, you know,
Hey, collectively.
you want to split hairs there?
You get love too, Henry.
I guess
you get some
I'm
love
wrong.
too.
Oh, okay, because let's see, 110-100 by 10, right?
Okay.
We won by 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so 115-105. We won by 10.
Hilarious.
Anyway, yeah. Again, they you know, they're only human. You can get sucked into reading the back pages, and you're feeling good about yourself, which is rightfully so. They have every right to feel good about themselves, But then you said Hakeem says they shouldn't be. They have no business overlooking anybody. But like I said, they're only human, and they could start feeling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to the coach.
I can see that.
And the coach has to let them know, hey, forget the record, forget what you've done up to this point, and let's focus on tonight's job.
Play hard.
This is a business trip. Let's take care of business.
Yeah.
So that being said, I don't know, Muscala, Theo Maladon might want to make a name for himself today. Justin Jackson, but they don't have no point guards, man. Come on, George Hill and Theo Maladon. That is their point guards. As the point guard goes, so does the team. So I don't know how, they might have a good road record or something like that, but that win against the Pelicans was just a fluke, because that 1 point game can go either way. And they
give us a score, Henry. Give us a score. We got to
want the score, huh? Okay, so let's wrap it up. We're going to give it to you. I'm going to give you a 102-98.
Okay. I'm gonna just give you guys a score real quick, because I know we're up against the clock here and stuff like that. I see it 105-99.
Okay.
6-point game. Okay. 6-point game. I think one of the things that Thibodeau wants to impress upon this team is defense, and trying to hold teams, in that 90-point range. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, especially for the point that Hakeem or Dream had made regarding this team going on the road, being 3-1, and the unpredictability factor.
Right.
So that's what I'm gonna say. Henry, take us out, as you normally do, so we can wrap this up.
Okay, so once again, thank you all of you for joining us today. Adrian was still trying to get on, but his lunch hour starts around 1:30, I think, and so I think he wasn't able to get on. But remember, once a Knick,
Always a
Knick.
All right.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go.
All right, fellas.
Peace.
See you Sunday. We'll talk trades. We'll talk potential trades on Sunday.
For sure.
Okay.
And we're gonna start an earlier session, because I think Sunday they play in the afternoon, early afternoon, right?
I didn't see the time yet.
Okay.
But the schedule says come on. They don't give us a time for Sunday. Oh, 6 p.m.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. So we could do the lunchtime
It's at
special.
6
Okay,
p.m. And Mondays at 7.
no problem. We could do the lunchtime
Henry.
special. All right, fellas.
Yes, sir.
Maybe Henry.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you can get your guy on for Sunday.
Yeah,
There you
Maybe
go.
you can get your guy on for Sunday.
definitely.
All right. And a shout out to the Knicks Fix and my daughter Melissa.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.